the same game, just different levels. Dealing with the same hell, just different devils. I work as a janitor for an elementary school. I don't make much, with most of my earnings going to my wife's medical bills, as she was diagnosed with lung cancer 3 months ago. What little savings I had was what kept me afloat, but even now, I ran that dry. To try and get some extra cash, I decided to donate plasma. I spent a few minutes looking for the highest pay when I noticed one was giving $3,800 over 3 times the others. I clicked on their site, but quickly found it was sketchy, with only an address and phone numbers on the page. My first instinct was to ignore it, but the pay was too good to pass up, so I tested my luck. I got into my red pickup truck and drove 9 miles to the donation center. I got to the center and it was what I was expecting, an older building with a broken window and broken glass on the floor outside. I got out of my truck and walked to the door, noticing the security camera a few feet above the door. I went to open the door, but it didn't budge. I was about to walk off when the door opened, and a beautiful woman wearing a nurse outfit similar to what you would find at a Halloween store. She smiled, asked me my name, and had me sign some papers. In my hands was a green form with the number 46 on it. Within 5 minutes, I was in the lobby with 5 other men. 44 was called immediately after I took my seat, and he stood up as a different nurse, just as beautiful as the last, took him to the back. I caught a glimpse of the 9 steel doors back there, along with the 2 other nurses back, both wearing clinical masks and holding medical equipment. 2 of them were dragging a medical cooler labeled Blood and Marrow. On a table next to me was a magazine about sports cars. I decided to read it while I waited. In under 15 minutes, I was called up just as another guy entered the lobby. I followed the nurse, trying not to look over her as she led me to the 8th door, entered a code on the handle, and took me in the room. The inside was mostly empty, with a few cabinets on the floor, a poster for an 80s rock band on the wall, and a big desk chair in the center with a few straps on the armchairs. She had me sit down as she apologized for the room not being furnished. Apparently, they just started operations last week. I took my seat as she strapped my arms down, saying it's a mandatory procedure, and inserted a needle connected to a tube into my arm. I followed the tube with my eyes, finding that it led into the cabinet. She then walked away, saying she would check on me in 10 minutes. I sat there bored out of my mind, staring at the steel door, when I heard a slurping sound in the room. I began moving my head around and noticed the cabinet was slightly left open, and inside something was moving. Instinctively, I freaked out and fell over, knocking the needle out of me. The slurping continued for a few seconds before it stopped, and a small, pale, white, flaky hand opened the cabinet door. I began to squirm, moving a bit closer to the steel door as I heard footsteps behind me. I quickly took a glance back, finding a naked, bald, older woman, a little taller than a 5th grader, walking towards me. It was only then I noticed the yellowish eyes and sharper teeth. She bit my arm, tearing a good amount of flesh off. By this point, I was crying in pain, barely noticing the woman slowly regain her youth as she ate. She was about to launch onto me when the door opened and the nurse from earlier came in with an annoyed expression on her face. She had a can of mace and sprayed the old lady, leaving significant pink marks on with each shot. She then stuck a needle into my neck as she said,
"We send our apologies for what happens next."
I then woke up in a hospital, my ankle twisted and 3 other bites on my body. I was apparently missing for 2 days and was found in the woods a few miles away from the center. I tried to tell the police what I saw, but they wouldn't listen, believing I made it all up, as those bites were eerily similar to wolf bites. Last week, I found someone with access to the dark web who apparently sells organs there. I fear what happened to those guys at the center. Last I checked, their website looked much better, their office much more expensive.